I'm going to start off this video by saying that I love Nintendo games with a passion. One of the very first few video games I ever played was New Super Mario Bros. On the Nintendo DS. This and the release of the Wii launched my lifetime obsession with playing and collecting Nintendo games. I own an N64, a GameCube, a Wii, Wii U, NES Mini, and Super Nintendo Mini, as well as every handheld ever released. Nintendo has been my lifeline as a kid because I didn't grow up playing online with friends. My comfort games have always been Pokemon, Mario, and Zelda, and I still go back and play these games from my childhood while I am at the end of college, which is why I felt the need to make this video. I am not going to buy a Nintendo Switch 2, and I don't think I will anytime soon. It's not because I'm a hater. I've said it before that I'm a huge Nintendo fan, and I love their games, and I love the nostalgia of revisiting the games from my childhood. I just don't think my nostalgia for these games is really enough to keep me interested in the future of this new system. I've been feeling this way for a while now, especially around the last 2 years. I think the last time I genuinely loved playing on my Switch was when Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I easily sunk 200 hours into that game. I felt just as connected to the game as I did Breath of the Wild, and the game reminded me of how much I loved the system when it first came out. Back in 2017, I was blown away by the scale and vastness that Breath of the Wild had and was eager to see what the Switch had in store for the upcoming years. Those first few months, I was just waiting for a game to come out. I only had Zelda and Mario Kart up until 2018 when things started to pick up. We got Mario Odyssey and Smash Bros. That year. So in 2 years, we had massive games for the Switch, and I knew things were only going to get more exciting for the Switch's lifespan. In the last 2 years, however, I felt as though I was growing out of Nintendo games. I wasn't playing on my Switch nearly as much, and I felt almost obligated to pick it up. I thought it was just something that happened with age as I went to college and made more friends and started living life. I was still playing on my PlayStation and DS and having a blast, so I didn't understand why the first Switch wasn't as fun to play anymore. I think the most amount of hours I've spent on my Switch were just playing Zelda and Pokemon, which is no surprise. Zelda has always had some of the greatest video games of all time, and Pokemon is one of the most addictive concepts in gaming. It doesn't surprise me that I go back and play Pokemon on my DS and revisit Zelda on my N64 and GameCube. I think that's just it though. I don't really think my love of video games has changed. I think the new video games just outgrew me. If I go back and look at the Switch's lifespan, I had an abundance of games in my backlog I could play, but I can't think back on an experience that was as fun as Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, or Mario Odyssey, or Mario Kart. And that's just because I don't think there's much love being poured into the other games as these had. I made a video a few years back that I didn't like Pokemon Legends Arceus. I went back after that and I beat the game in 50 hours. My opinion still hasn't changed because I haven't felt the need to replay it or transfer my Pokemon to the other games. I haven't even played Brilliant Diamond or Pokemon Sword since, and I didn't even play Scarlet and Violet. I just didn't find it very appealing. I think there wasn't enough polish put into those games to really warrant my purchase of them. And to see they never got an update to patch the issues really just shows where their priorities are at. I didn't see those problems in Omega Ruby, Sun and Moon, or even X and Y. Those were amazing experiences on day one. The worlds were so full of life, and there was always so much content and replayability for me to just pick up my game and play. I was always excited for what would come next. Now I'm dreading the next release of each game because I know the experience won't be as good anymore. There would only be a buggy experience where the game is nothing but cutscenes and hand-holding. They would add a new gimmick that I had to learn and never use again. The selection of Pokemon will always be small compared to the older games, and the NPCs just stand creepily. I don't get as much enjoyment as I would playing Pokemon Black and White 2. It's the same with the Switch. I watched the years go by as the potential was never reached after Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey. I think we also had a few too many deluxe versions of 10-year-old games and not enough new stuff to really make me hyped about picking up my Switch. The feeling of picking up a game and exploring a new adventure was never as gripping as the first day I bought my Switch. I also felt the eShop was littered with mobile games and underdeveloped indies. I always had to search hard to find the titles I actually wanted to buy and felt there was never a game that I could sink hours into. It just felt as though I was wandering through a bargain bin at a store. The main screen for Switch was always a blank, empty hub for your titles, and I always had to press a button 3 times to even get there. There were no themes or music to even liven up the hub screen, which just made it feel lifeless and boring. I miss the days of the Wii where there were always lively music on each application, and I felt like the adventure had begun when I turned it on. I never felt alone because I was always interacting with the Miis that felt like real people. Now with the paid online and the constant need to turn on my Wi-Fi just to confirm I own the game I'm playing, I feel much more isolated in my room. And speaking of the paid online, let's address the elephant in the room. It's no secret that Nintendo Switch Online has been less than stellar. You have to pay a subscription in order to play online with other players. You couldn't chat with your friends unless you use your phone, and you couldn't access the retro games without paying the temporary service. I never understood why you couldn't just purchase the virtual console games and download them individually. I would have happily paid to download them fully and not worry about having a save file for Ocarina of Time. This service definitely killed my hype for the Switch, and I found myself playing online games less throughout the Switch's lifespan. Fast forward to today, and I understand why fans are upset with Nintendo for the prices. Currently, the Nintendo Switch 2 is priced at $450, and while there is heavy inflation to account for, if you do the math right, you'll find out that the most expensive console with inflation doesn't even equate to that absurd price. That $450 price tag doesn't even include the paid services, or the $80 games that they're selling now. If I wanted to play the next Pokemon game, I would have to spend $530 minimum, and that doesn't include potential DLC or online functionality. I would still need to pay for online usage and even voice chat just to play Mario Kart with friends online, and that would price the Switch even higher. And also, let's not forget about the game keycards. According to them, the physical game you buy doesn't hold the game, but a download code for the game that you need to download the entire file, and you can only access this downloaded game with the keycard that is forever locked to your Switch. This means I can't lend my cartridge to my friend to play or even use the cartridge on another Switch because it is stuck being a key to my Switch that will probably break within a year or two. This means if my Switch breaks or even bricked remotely, I have to spend an entire $530 extra just because the game cartridge can't be accessed on other Switches. Now let's talk about the bricking of consoles for a second. You can use your console to do either modding or improving your single player experience, and Nintendo can remotely disable your physical device from ever being used again. That is next level in terms of anti-consumer that I've ever witnessed. I feel as though we are renting the new Switch temporarily rather than owning it, and for that price tag, I don't think that's worth it. The prices of the accessories don't even feel worth it because they just feel so lifeless and empty. I don't think they really add anything to the experience except for charging you more. And the Joy-Cons have confirmed to use the same technology as the last Switch, so be prepared to having to buy new ones due to drifting, or they just stop charging altogether. I can't tell you how many new Joy-Cons I had to buy just because of the same problem. And it's not going to change for the Switch 2. And the selection of games, I really doubt Mario Kart is worth keeping me invested for more than a month. Donkey Kong probably won't be that much better because it's $10 less. So what is there that's going to get me to buy this new Switch? Because I already have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on my Switch. There would need to be a major release if I'm going to buy this new system, and Metroid Prime definitely isn't it. If we have anything from the Switch 1 to go off of, we probably won't see new games for a while. And I can only imagine the games being releases for this new Switch's lifespan. So if you had to ask me why I wasn't going to buy this new system, I couldn't really give you a single reason, because there's a lot of them. But I probably won't be buying the Switch 2 for the fact that I already have a Switch 1, and Nintendo as well as other fans have said I don't need to buy the new Switch. So thank you, Nintendo, and I wish you the best of luck. But I'm going to continue playing my older games until there's a serious change.